Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Rob. I'm going to be speaking about the subject of advertising and marketing. But before I do, and before I share what I've got on these two whiteboards, what qualifies me to be speaking to anyone about the subject of advertising or marketing? Well, quite simply, I've actually learnt the core skills on how to write advertising that sells products and services. Now, how I got started was way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I left my trade. So I'm a tradesman, first and foremost. I then went over and I wanted a career change and I became a real estate agent. When I was doing my licensing and accreditation to become a real estate agent here in Australia, we had to go through a specific course, which was all institutionalized and all very official, because in the early 90s, you didn't have to have a license for to sell real estate. So when I came into the real estate community, there was a big reshuffle and things were a little bit more professional. So as a part of the training, I got sent to advertising school basically, and I've kept all my own ads. So I worked for three companies. I worked for Ray White, I worked for Century 21 and an independent company north of Adelaide. And I kept most of the stuff that I did. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Didn't intend for this to blow up like it has. But when I was in real estate, some of the first print ads, now mind you, this is the late 90s, early 2000s. The internet was just starting, and the primary way that I was selling homes back then was through these tiny little print ads. And there they are. So those were 4 homes that I sold, and I sold them, well, I actually sold the idea of buying the homes by writing these killer little text ads, which you can see right there, nothing fancy, and a little tiny black and white sketch, no color photographs at that stage because I was at Ray White. And for some reason, I was able to get loads and loads of people to my open inspections. So I turned into quite the popular man when it became about the subject of selling homes. And because of the success I had at the open inspections, at some of the open inspections, I actually had people who wanted to sell the homes come out and see me because they were, really impressed with the way that I was advertising homes for my clients. And what I did throughout my real estate career was I kept basically all the print media that I ran back in the day, sort of thing. So there's one when I was at Century 21. And I'm right there, and I've got half a dozen homes in there for sale. So that's what got me started in writing advertising. There are some flyers that I used for some of the properties that I had on market. There are some other ones, so I'm just going to dump this right here. So that's how I got started in writing advertising that sold stuff. So I learned to do the advertising the old school way by having to really sit there and paint a picture of what it'll be like moving into this home. So regardless if you were a new couple and you're looking at, having a family at some stage, or you were a pre-existing family and you wanted a bigger home, I would write for that particular market or that particular buyer. And I was selling homes faster than I could list them. Then I got out of real estate and I went to a number of people who I knew of within the advertising and marketing world, and I studied under them. And then I come across my first internet marketing course, which was way back in the early 2000s. I was a part of the first generation of internet marketers, and I've actually got 2 of these. This is part 1, and this is by a guy called Corey Riddle, who run a company called the Internet Marketing Center. So it's very thick, a 3-ring binder, 2,500 pages. Plus I was a part of his mentorship program as well, where you got one-on-one time, which back then was by phone call as well as email. So it's like a mastermind type thing. But yeah, part of the first generation of internet marketers. Anything else here? And the other way that I was able to learn under people indirectly was buying their learning materials. So I would purchase DVDs of marketing and advertising seminars. For example, this particular person here, Brett McFall. So this is called Ad Camp. That was done in the I think 2007, 2008. That's a very good marketing and advertising resource. So I've gone ahead and done like a self-education in advertising and marketing, and I spent about 6 or 7 years. I could have done it in a shorter period of time. However, I was still raising a family at that stage and working 2 jobs. So I was learning all this advertising and marketing sort of outside of my 9 to 5 daily grind, so to speak. So that's what qualifies me. I'm not one of these flash in the pan, self-anointed sort of marketing and advertising experts. I've actually learnt the core skills from people who were getting insane results themselves, and they were going out and getting insane results for business owners who wanted more leads, more sales, more market share, more cash, and they wanted to take their business to the next level. That's who I am, and that's what qualifies me to be speaking to you about advertising and marketing. I'm not some sort of fake expert or fake subject matter expert. I actually know what I'm speaking about because I've had the informal training by people who were doing it for real. So there's 2 types of advertising in this world that I've learnt about. One type of advertising is all about the long game, which I like to call generational marketing and advertising. It's typically referred to as image or branding because it's all about the image, the logo, and the branding, the colors, and everything else. It's not so much about making a sale right then. They're hoping over time of seeing this brand all the time that if you happen to need that product or service, that somehow that brand will pop up and you go, I'll go and buy that. That's the general philosophy, or at least that's my perspective of brand or image advertising. It's institutionalized, it's very expensive. It typically takes 5 to 10 years to get a really good, return on your investment. So I'm going to go through some of the bullet points about branding or image advertising. It's highly expensive. So if you're not a mega corporation, as in like the world's biggest soft drink manufacturers, don't use this type of advertising. It's highly expensive. There's no ability to gauge a response because there's no call to action. It's longer to get your ROI because you're stretching out to 5 to 10 years or even a generational thing. It pushes an image or a logo or branding colors as opposed to features and benefits and reason why. There's never any call to action at the end of their advertising or marketing. There's no reason why. A corporation's unit, because they've got deeper pockets, and I'm talking like, I know for a fact one of the soft drink manufacturers here in Australia spend about $100 million a year just pushing their branding and having, people run on the beach and playing volleyball. But they don't necessarily want you to go out and get their particular soft drink. There's no real benefits to using that particular product or service because it's all about the branding, the image, and the logo. And there's no data as in numbers. You don't know you don't really know who your buyers are. You don't know where you're starting from, where you're going, or what the end result is, because it's all about the logo, the image, the colors, excuse me for 1 second, and the colors. Whereas the other type of marketing that I would recommend you can strongly consider, it's called direct response. And it's very self-explanatory. You take a course of action and you get an immediate response back. Direct response advertising, in my opinion, based on my experience of almost 25 years of being involved in advertising and marketing, direct response is highly suitable for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and when I say a medium-sized business, anywhere up to like even 200 or 300 people on staff, I would still recommend using this. Now, there's an immediate return on investment. The results are the same day, same week, same month, not 5 to 10 years. The users or the end users know the reason why they need to buy that product or service. Buyers know exactly what they're getting. There's less money needed. And the benefit of using direct response is when you make that first chunk of profit, you can take that first chunk of profit and roll it into the campaign and keep rolling it over. Therefore, your initial investment might be $2,000 or $3,000 on a social media ad, And the money you make from that first ad, you just keep rolling that over. Therefore, it's only cost you your initial investment 2,000 to 3,000, but if you keep rolling the profits over, it becomes virtually free. You know what your numbers are, and that's very important. If you don't know what your numbers are in advertising and marketing, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You'll know who's seen it, who wants it, who's buying it. More importantly, you know the number of eyes that are seeing your advertising and marketing. You know what the response rate is. You know what your conversion rate is to sale. I would highly recommend direct response for the simple fact is you know everything there is to know about your marketing and advertising. You have full control over it. It's very cost effective, and it can almost be free, and you don't need a lot of money to get started. Whereas the image or branding, which is heavily pushing a brand, a logo, or an image, mate, you have to be almost like a Colombian drug dealer to afford to do this. I mean, who in today's world has $50 to $100 million that they can just pump into some sort of hokey pokey type advertising thing and not ask for the sale at the end? They just want to let you know, we're out here. We don't necessarily want you to take action today, but we just want to show you the logo in the hope that you will think about us when it comes time to be making a buying decision. That to me is just pure insanity. Even if I was a mega billionaire, I'd be using direct response because I'd want to know my numbers. I'd want to know who's looking at it. I want to know how many people have seen it, how many people have taken action on it. I want to know what my conversion rate to sales is. This is a mug's game. I wouldn't use this even if I had all the money in freaking Dubai. Now, let me show you the two different types of marketing and advertising, as in what you can expect to see and how to identify the two. So with your image advertising, you typically have a logo at the top of your advertising or marketing. You have a stack of bullet points. You'll have either a phone number or a website, and that's it. There's nothing really there, because what they're doing is they want to push this logo. They want to push the colors of the logo. They want to, the type of logo you're using, whether it's some sort of animal shape or symbol. And they want you to have this in the back of your mind just in case you want to buy. That to me is defeating the purpose of marketing and advertising. A direct response ad, what you'll typically see, and I'm just going to turn the camera ever so slightly. With a direct response ad, what you'll typically see online is what they call a video sales letter. So back in the early days, in the early 2000s, we would have an old school sales letter. And I'll see if I can flip this board around. Let's see if I can flip this around without damaging anything. So an old school sales letter back in the day. So if this was your website or if it was using direct mail. So we're going to use a website for the ease of conversation. It'll start out with this massive headline up here. It'll have a picture of what it is that they're selling. It'll have from, to, and whatever else. And then it'll go into blocks of text. And at the end, it'll have order here with an order button down at the bottom. That's the way that it used to be done. And there are still websites and there's still people marketing like this because they prefer to do it like this. So it's a headline, a picture of what it is from, so you know who it's from, either the director or someone else, and then a heap of text in blocks. Back then we were taught to do like a paragraph, 3 to 4 lines. Nowadays we're looking at single sentence sort of paragraphs and 2-line paragraphs because people's attention span seems to be like a goldfish. And that's the way it is now. It's actually less words spread out evenly. But that's the way that it used to be done. So we're going to flip this board around. Hopefully I don't break the window and I get it around the right way. Just excuse me for 1 second. There we go. So what you'll see today is what's called a video sales letter. So it's like the sales letter that I showed you on the other side of the board, but this video sales letter is just someone sitting in front of a thing just like this, and they're just jibber jabbering about what it is that they're trying to sell. There might be a headline underneath there. There might be some text. There'll be an order here button, some more text, and they'll typically throw in some testimonial video ads. So you'll see some people down at the bottom, and they'll be talking about the features and benefits and everything else and how wonderful it is and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's a direct response ad. So if you see an ad that is not like this, and it has a big, massive logo, big colors everywhere, bullet points, a phone number, and a cheesy looking website, and it doesn't really give you reason why, and it doesn't really do anything, well then it's an image or branding exercise. Direct response is the way to go because it tells you everything you need to know. It's like an electronic salesperson. This is pretty much like holding up a sheet of paper in front of people and saying, buy me. Okay, so that's the first video that I'm doing. I'm just going to straighten this up a little bit more. So I hope you've got some value and benefit out of watching this video. It's gone on for just over 15 minutes. I do apologize, but I had to back myself up and give reason why you should listen to me. If you'd like to work with me or have me work with you, I have basically a very simple way of going about it. There's no phone call, there's no websites. The only way you can gain access through me to me is through this YouTube channel, and I've got an email address attached to this channel. I have a 2-page application form and a 9-page questionnaire. The reason why I've done that is all the other consultants in this space don't use that. They just go in and try and sell you straight off the cuff, and they don't give any real consideration. They don't really pull information out of you to ascertain whether or not it's even worth partnering up. So that's why I've come up with a 2-page application form, 9-page questionnaire. It'll give me all the information that I need to know about you and your operation, because I don't want to waste your time. It's no use partnering up and me going off like a bull in a china shop and not being able to really deliver any results or give you a substantial return on investment. So if you'd like to work with me, I've got a 2-page application form, 9-page questionnaire. Ask me for that in the email address that's attached to this channel. I'll send it to you. You send it back to me. I'll have a read of it and we can make a plan from there. Hope you've enjoyed this first video. As you can see, I'm not much of a George Lucas or Steven Spielberg or whoever you want to say. I like to keep things very simple and direct. Cheers.